I'm going to go over some of the things you're going to need for these little labs so you can be ultimately successful. And here they are. The first thing you're going to need is, and they're not in any particular order, some of them have to do with cooking. If you're not allowed to use the oven without somebody watching, make sure you don't use the oven without somebody watching, because there's a couple of these labs that include heating something up, and it's not really that high of a temperature, but it's something that if you're not allowed to use the oven, make sure that you don't. I remember from the writing teacher that there was a student who wrote about they're not allowed to use the oven, but they cook with their parents or their mom, and so, or their sister, and so somebody who's there that's responsible. So make sure if you're doing anything that has to do with the oven that you're doing it with a responsible person that you're allowed to do it with. So there's some basic kitchen household items, like lemons are going to be used a couple of times, and lemons are kind of expensive, so I'm not asking you to go buy anything. I'm just asking if you have this stuff laying around the house, however you get it is your business, but it's optional kind of things. I mean, I know that not everybody has wire clips at home, but you might, and if you do have wire clips, and I'll show you what that looks like, then you could do that lab. And if you have money laying around that you can't spend anywhere because the stores and Starbucks are all closed, the hardware store is still open. It's considered an essential business. So one of the things you'll see is like knife, butter knife. You're going to need bowls, oven mitt, cotton swab, lemons, as you can see, those wire clips. Those are the things you might not have. And there's also on the list down is screws that are zinc plated, and so those are called galvanized screws, and they help with the experiment. They need to be that kind of screw because it conducts electricity better. And lemons and pennies. And then if you have LED lights, like if you have one of those kits laying around for I forget the name of the kit, but like a Raspberry Pi kind of stuff, if you have any of those breadboards laying around where you're using LED lights, then you can use those. And then colored markers, colored pens of all different sorts, ruler, scissors, tape. And then one of the things we're going to do is this one, some paper folding, and if you have colored paper, it just makes it look better. It just makes it look cooler. It's not anything that's mandatory. You have paper laying around, most likely. And then also there's an app called Measure. If you're allowed to get Measure, or any app where you can use your phone to measure a distance across a room, that would be cool. Here's the symbol for Measure. Another thing that you have laying around the house, don't throw away stuff. Make for yourself like a little lab station of supplies in your bedroom or somewhere where you can keep stuff, where you're allowed to keep stuff. So instead of throwing the paper towel rolls away, keep the paper towel roll. Instead of throwing cups away, rinse them out and keep the cups. And some other things that are regular, water bottles. Keep 1 liter and 500 milliliter, which is half of a 1 liter. So 500 milliliters like your regular drinking water bottle that we see around campus on the ground all over the place. And then the 1 liter bottle is the little bigger that we use in Science Olympiad. And paint, if you have paint, like tempera, the kind we have at school, or just something to make it's not mandatory, it's just to make it look cool. Little pieces of cardboard laying around, save the caps on the water bottles, balloons. If you have balloons, then that'll be awesome. I have a ton of balloons at school, and if I can find a way to get those to the office so they're available if you don't have any, then that would be an option. There's some other supplies I have in my room I might send to the office, so you could pick up a little baggie of supplies, but I don't do it yet. I haven't arranged that with the office. Little bowls that you're allowed to use in the kitchen, and jars, things that you can put liquids in that you're allowed to use. So try to gather up some supplies that you know it's okay for you to use, because certain bowls your parents wouldn't want you to use. I know there's certain things that if my kids were doing an experiment, I would totally let them use, and then there's other things that'd be like, no. So make sure you know what's okay. Tissue paper, like if you use that in gift wrapping, you probably have some tissue paper. There's an experiment that we're going to do with that. If you have putty, there's one little experiment where it comes in handy as a safety feature to help you do something, but it's not totally necessary. More balloons. If you have card stock, like 3x5 index card type of things, something a little thicker than paper but not quite as thick as cardboard. And then there's one experiment that's kind of a specialty experiment because of this coronavirus time that we're in. I figured, like, my daughters love the bath bombs, and so I have this recipe to make bath bombs if you're interested in that kind of thing. Again, it's one of those recipes where you would need to use the stove and different liquids and different ingredients. And so that one needs to make sure that you get permission if any of these require using the kitchen or supplies that you think you might get in trouble for using. I don't want anyone to get in trouble, and I don't want anyone to think they have to go out and buy stuff. So these, I'm putting a variety of these experiments up there so you can kind of pick and choose. And you're not limited to this. If you have some that you want to try on your own that you know of, you could do that as well. The point is, I'm going to have the sheet that we've been working on in labs that have the scientific method, where it has the hypothesis, the big question, the hypothesis, and then you have your materials, then you conduct the experiment, and then within that you have variables, the independent, dependent, and control variables. So we're going to just work on practicing those again with just household items you have at home. And you can do this with a brother or sister or anybody you're allowed to be with, and have fun with it. It was meant to, like, give you something to do with your hands, not just have your eyes on the computer. So I hope you enjoy these, and don't get frustrated with any of them if they don't work quite right, because sometimes they always make it look like they're going to be great and you're a little disappointed in the results. But just work on the lab part of it, and if it works out really cool, then that's a bonus. Have a beautiful day.